6'7". Can you talk?
ZXYWVUTSRQPONNLKJISGFED.
Okay, you always have to do that.
CBA, because no one else can.
Okay. I'll learn it one day.
We have 4 pages of things we want to ask you.
I want you to ask me anything that you thought perhaps was maybe half explained on the documentary, or anything that you think people might be curious about, because obviously you know me so well.
I think you're going to be very interested in the questions we ask. We get
Are we rolling now?
Yeah, we are.
If you guys haven't already guessed by his iconic voice, we wrote a little introduction for you. So
Did you really?
We did.
Okay.
Today, we have an extremely special episode for you guys. Not only are we bringing back a highly requested guest, but this guest is also giving us an exclusive, in-depth interview about his new Netflix documentary that came out on November 3rd. If you haven't already guessed it, sitting here with us today is none other than our dad, Sylvester Stallone. Studio audience.
And the studio audience is just Jennifer Stallone sitting in the background.
Is she flapping around?
She's flopping.
She is Floppy Bird right now.
My good luck charm.
This is just so surreal. By the way, thank you so much for doing this and coming on our show. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but you know.
Oh, of course, girl.
We appreciate this.
I think I find this to be quite interesting, because the documentary turned out to be somewhat of a surprise.
Yeah.
Because I cannot take credit for anything other than just answering the questions that the director asked.
Right.
And as honestly as I could. And what was so interesting is, you know, when you're going to do an interview, and I certainly have done a lot, you sort of prepare yourself. But what was so unique is I'd be walking down the hall and he'd start asking questions, and there's no makeup, no hair, anything, and you're just going to get a coffee. And like what anyone would normally do, you start talking and you become completely unself-conscious because, oh, you're like this, as opposed to, oh my God, I have to sit in the chair and I have to look this way, and the questions are more formal. He was very brilliant, Tom. His name was Tom Zimmy, and I gave him all the credit.
Yeah, he did an incredible job. I mean, Sistine, I've watched it a couple times, and even now we still are affected by it. And we did read the headlines, and it was alternatively illuminating and evasive. Another called it reflective and vulnerable. And I feel like a lot of times in your career, with a lot of the things you put out there, the reviews are very polarizing. It can either go one way or the other way. So how did it feel hearing such positive reviews back on something that is very personal to you?
Well, obviously it's somewhat of a shock, because it's not often I get gratifying reviews. And I think it was also a little frustrating, because I thought, God, you would think after 50 years people would know you. And then I realized perhaps I really haven't shown a lot of myself in cinema of who I really am.
Well, to their point, Sophia and I watched the documentary several times, and to be quite honest, there was a lot of things in this documentary that we were shocked to find out about you. And I've known you for about 25 years, so I thought I knew everything about you. But it really did show a great insight into your brain of why you do the things you do, why you wrote the lines you wrote, what your feelings were in certain scenes. And that's what I think people weren't understanding before. And I guess kind of the big question is, why now? Why make a documentary now? People already know your rags to riches stories, how you started, where you became. So why now at your age did you feel the need, I actually want to share this with people?
That's a good question, because I didn't feel this overwhelming impulse. Matter of fact, it was something that I shied away from, because I thought, everyone does know pretty much. If they don't know me by now, I must have done 1,000 television interviews. But I said, the one thing I haven't done, and a lot of actors don't, is why you are the way you are. Why do I gravitate towards a certain character as opposed to that other one that would perhaps be more popular? What dark side pulls you in, and then what other side, the bright side, which is the rocky side. So it was kind of an exploration that I didn't want to take, because I sort of knew the answer, and it all starts when you're very young, when you're a child. And and I think I said it in the documentary that people don't realize how impressionable and vulnerable when you're young. You are, like I said, soft clay. And I grew up in a really bad household. It was tough. I don't want to sit there and throw aspersions and this and that, but it was not a household. Everyone was extremely unhappy with who they were.
Right.
Meaning my mother and father, they certainly weren't parents. In other words, they said, oh, I can't wait to raise a happy, normal family, when both of them were completely discontent with who they were. And you think, okay, is this what it's really like? Because, girls, believe it or not, I spent the first 4.5, 5 years in a boarding house in Jackson Heights. And for a lot of people that don't know what a boarding house is, it's basically a couple of bedrooms and run by an older woman. And it's not a flop house, but it's transient. Salesmen coming in, stewardesses, people that are on the move. And I'd sit at this table with adults, and I'm 4 years old, and no one talked to me, and I just look around, and I'm going, I have no one to really relate to. And then the next day, they'd be gone, and it'd be another stranger, and another stranger. And I think it truly affected the way I interacted with people. I was kind of a loner because of that reason.
Well, there was a really interesting point that you made in your documentary that I don't think a lot of people picked up on, but I did. You had said that your mom was nervous to have you. She didn't want you,
Not at
right?
all.
And I thought to myself, you quite literally came into the world unwanted.
Oh, yeah.
And your first experience of life was you felt this negative energy. I don't want this kid. Your dad wasn't excited. Your mom wasn't excited. Did you ever, as a child, feel that at any moment when you were cognizant enough to understand, oh, wow, I actually don't feel loved, feel anything?
It's odd because the earmarks are there. I'm a little hesitant, but too incredibly repetitive because it was told to me so many times. My mother would say, the only reason you're here is because the hanger didn't work. Or bouncing down those steps didn't cause you to get lost. And she said that, truthfully, Sylvester, and believe it or not, they called me Binky because there was a hairbrush called the Binky brush. And for some reason, it said Binky. If there was really something wrong with your brain, I would have definitely opened up the window and put you on the windowsill and let you freeze. Because I'd be doing you a favor. Your brain is too young to compute. I almost thought she was joking.
Yeah, of course.
Kind of
Well, yeah, I
thing.
mean, what type of mother says that to their child? I mean, that's actually something we've been questioning when we were watching the documentary. Is between us, we all know, the abuse you went through with your mother, but and we definitely want to dive into your father's psyche and like the why he did the things he did to you and how it affected your, creative process and your future.
Right.
But what was the decision of leaving your mother out when she had just as much impact on your upbringing as he did?
I thought it would be too much for the audience. I thought that they would say, he's making this up, or perhaps he's looking for sympathy. Because it's when you're young, you're kind of naive and foolish. You go, maybe everyone's mother is like this.
Right.
I never really hung out with other people, so I didn't know what a happy home was. I thought this is normal, modus operandi.
Right.
But as I got older, I realized there was some critically bad behavior going on, and then as I got older, I realized perhaps they are just a product of their upbringing.
Yeah.
Which wasn't necessarily so, but I kept thinking, maybe they're... But my mother was... she was a troubled person. She was put into an orphanage, and a very cruel orphanage because her father had remarried, and the new stepmother hated her. And I think my mother was also kind of rebellious. So she was put into an orphanage that it's unlike the ones they have today. It was, you're tied to the bed, you're whipped, and she was terribly molested.
Wow.
And I think her ability to ever show love was short-circuited. She literally couldn't stand to be touched or touch at all. I mean, not even a hug.
As a child, though,
Yeah.
touch is the most important thing you can give a
Yeah.
kid.
Right.
So how did her lack of touch towards you, skin-on-skin contact, affect you long term? I mean, did it affect the way that you view meaningful relationships or developing even friendships with people? How did their lack of being available to you carry with you long term?
Well, I could tell, you could ask my wife, I didn't like being touched. I couldn't handle it. Any sort of affection, touch like this, it was so alien that it made me incredibly uncomfortable. And I've just literally come to terms with, of course, your mother, which I love now, but she'll tell you for years.
Right.
I just thought that was normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We remember just holidays alone, how uncomfortable even growing up it made you. I mean, you had to truly relearn how to have a healthy relationship when mom came into the picture and having a family because you weren't used to,
Yeah, do you remember?
Normalcy.
I didn't like Christmas.
No.
I didn't like Thanksgiving.
Board games?
No.
Forget
Actually,
it.
in Rocky, that's when I wrote one of the lines where Adrian comes out. He goes, "But it's a special day. It's Thanksgiving." And I said, to me, it's Thursday.
Right.
And that's true
True. Yeah.
Well,
to me.
what I think a lot of people loved throughout this documentary is how many hidden messages you explained that were in your dialogue. For example, one of my favorite ones, and I had no idea,
Okay.
was when Mickey comes to your door
Yeah.
and you did a take and then you did another take, and that second take was really what you wanted to say to your dad,
Right.
but you never did.
No.
Why didn't you?
I didn't have the guts. I was afraid of him, and I don't think I was articulate enough. And when I wrote the screenplay, that didn't exist. And then I said, "There's something. I got to do something to explain the frustration of wanting to say this, but you can't say it. But you can say it to a door, but." When a man's face is in front of you, it just froze up, and because I was afraid of him.
Of course.
I mean, there was no joke. There was no joke, and I thought, my God, this is so great that I got a chance to do this in Rocky,
Write it out.
what I couldn't do in reality. But that was pretty much a very biographical moment.
So when all of this was going on, and a lot of
Right.
people I think can experience, they've had situations with their parents where abuse was happening growing up. What kind of survival tactics did you do to kind of, survive the day? I feel like when you're alone.
Survival.
Yeah.
It wasn't as though I had, okay, here's plan A, plan B. I was so caught up in unreality, non-reality, fiction. I never went to school, and I would always kind of identify with cartoon figures, mythical Superman, Batman, this thing, you name it. It got to the point that I actually would sometimes make these horrible costumes out of a barber's cape and a pair of bathing suit and go to school. Under the clothes, I'd feel like I'm the real character.
That's
they don't
so
know
cute.
that. Oh, yeah, I know. It was all right until I
Escapism.
got busted. And then it was pretty embarrassing. Like, oh, we have a special guest here today. Oh, Superboy, would you like to step up?
no.
And I take off my shirt and my bony legs and I go, oh,
That's
my
actually
God.
so
Yeah, would you like to fly around the room for us? I go, then back then they had a thing called a dunce cap.
Yeah.
Oh,
gosh.
gosh.
I remember
Oh,
you
yeah, it
speak.
actually existed. I
That's
know we see it in
crazy.
cartoons. I got,
You got the dunce cap.
Oh yeah, as Superboy.
Oh no!
But that completely makes sense for your childhood to be doing things like that.
Yeah.
You're longing so hard for an idol or a role model or someone to
Right.
look up to. So,
Right.
but you wanted to be that. So
Oh my God! Because I'm sorry, my nose is running. What I wanted to do was just find something that would make me heroic.
Right.
For some reason, I always wanted to garner some sympathy or something,
Right.
and because I wasn't getting it at home, and then I became sort of a thief
Right.
because I would whatever I could find. For example, in my father's pocket, it'd be like $5 or $6. Believe it or not, it was kind of dangerous. I would take the money, let it be 5 ones or quarters or whatever, and go to school and give it to people. Like, you want to be my friend?
Stop. That sounds
sure.
like something Sistine used to do growing up.
what, pay for friendship?
Well, he used to
Yeah.
give people goldfish.
Pay people
Right?
for friendship.
She used to give people goldfish.
Friendship for sale, friendship for sale.
Okay.